There's a man here can tell you, look.
I know
He works
Ed's fighting experience, right?
biggest hydrogen plant in the world.
Yeah.
He can tell you how dangerous this is.
What's the, I mean, I don't want to go over a level, that we can all take something away from it. But I mean, this man can explain to you what happens in processed pipe.
Every plan, say
Yeah.
whether, no matter what it is, if it's gas,
Yeah.
if it's anything, there's a process going, and it's a human process. It's not nature, it's not a human process. Although I heard somebody say, you could drink this when it comes from the tailings pond, comes out of the pipes. Well, I'm sorry, the next day I phoned her, and this was a public meeting, and she was town manager, and I asked her if she would get her information, she's Everett. Well, I mean, yeah, and I said, well, what would you expect her to say? But anyway, the thing about a plant is you got, pipes going here, pipes going here, pipes going here, it's all gases. What I'm concerned about is if there's a blowout. And if there's a blowout up there, we got nowhere to go.
What's it blowing?
A gas.
On controlled release pressure.
And it's all human error. Your car breaks down, your truck breaks down, everything breaks down. And I don't see, so far, I don't see anything that's going to protect it. Anybody that's downwind of that plant might go to heaven a lot quicker than they care.
Do operating high temperature process be impacted negatively by a very cold environment?
Oh, yes.
So,
Yes.
so considering the fact that we live in a -40 to +40 environment, this plant is going to operate, and all of these flanges, every place where a pipe spool meets a pipe spool, and I would say there would be probably, based on experience, anywhere from 10 to 30,000 spools in a place like this, that are bolted connections, that have gaskets.
Now, is that part of their EA, their environmental
No,
assessment
it's-
thing? Like,
that's-
what is that? Is that something different?
That's process, that's what nobody's even talked about, other than the fact that they've stated that they're gonna build something that's never been done before. Nobody's ever talked about anything like this.
And in
They're
the
not,
EA,
nobody's talking about anything.
for an installed system in the EA is that they're basically gonna have the top of the line industry standards for early detection and security. But if you look on the EVREC website, there's a question there of the ammonia and the hydrogen factor in there. It says that because the risk isn't determined right now for what it is, and it's currently with an insurance underwriter to determine the value of the insurability issue.
Risk management.
So they have, like, there's no idea of how catastrophic a risk could be, and with the size of the hydrogen storage that's just going to be an above ground hydrogen storage tank, if something happened, whether it was a plane crash or a, I don't know,
Earthquake,
gunshot,
tornado.
earthquake, whatever.
Anything's possible.
Anybody down this side of that can whistle Dixie.
4 kilometers in Bhopal, India, the largest environmental or industrial disaster
Because we have
ever
no way
occurred.
out.
Was ammonia, exact same circumstances. That was a battery plant, poison release of gases into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
4 kilometers is an exclusion zone that if you go inside of that, if you're not,
And there's
you
no
should be
hospital
inside of it
central
without
that can
protective
do that.
breathing equipment.
They don't even
An
know,
evacuation plan.
they don't even know what potential risks are, but already they've got an insurance underwriter putting a value on human life.
Well, they're gonna tell them what the risks are for.
That's the
common
important
sense.
thing, is that Everett themselves aren't even saying how close they can put
Could you
this
stand up,
plant
please?
to. Everett themselves aren't even saying how close they can put an ammonia plant to the homes. They're letting insurance underwriters develop the risk tolerance that they're willing to have. So they care so little about the people here, they're gonna put it as close as insurance will allow them to do it.
But because
And
it's not
they're
a
gonna
densely
try to
populated
find
area, the insurance risk will be lower because
Yeah.
there's fewer people to value.
Well, it speaks for yourself with the amount of people that's here, right? So
Yeah.
nobody cares anyway.
Okay, so
So-
let's kind of control the,
Yeah.
what you want to speak, go ahead.
First of all, my understanding is the term green ammonia refers only to the process of production, not the end product. The ammonia is the same.
Or
It's the
production of
same
the
risk,
equipment.
the same, yeah,
There's
it's
no
the
green in
same
the
hazard.
production of these steel towers. It's scope.
No, but
Scope steel.
that's the phrase.
Yes, yes.
That's the phrase.
So I have a question about the environmental response plan that's in your assessment. It talks about And my concern, I don't wanna see the wind towers, I don't want them taking our water, I don't like any of it. But my biggest concern, because I live down the road from the plant, is the ammonia, the transportation of the ammonia, the storage of the ammonia, the hydrogen storage, and what happens if there is a accident.
We have no
As they refer to an unplanned accident, I didn't know you planned accidents, but anyway, it's in the report.
In the northeast wind is a non-event. Very sad for grandfathers, you guys are safe.
They talk about here, a base hospital for treatment needs. Base hospital triage center should have capabilities to manage multiple burns and respiratory distress cases. Does anyone know if there's been any discussion with government, Department of Health about hospitals or what they're planning?
Or ambulance services.
Ambulance services.
We don't have 24-hour emergency, yes, the conversations have been had,
First responders.
and
Because, in the smaller communities, well, in Botwood after 8 PM, there's nothing, right? I had occasion to be at Grand Falls Emergency Room on October the 3rd. So we got there 8 o'clock in the night. The person we were there to see how they were doing, or what was happening with them, was in an ambulance waiting outside of the net side for 4 hours. There were 3 ambulances ahead of him waiting. They told us, and the staff there was really apologetic and really upset. They said they had opened their overflow room, whatever, had put 5 people in there. They were packed again. They had diverted 2 people to Gander. They still had the 4 people in ambulances waiting. The person we were there to see eventually got in, maybe he had been there 3.5 hours waiting. He somehow in the rotation actually got in the room, but when we left that evening, there were 5 people on stretchers in the corridor in the emergency room. People had been waiting there, including our MHA, Forsey. He had been there from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think he left about 9. He hadn't been seen by anyone. And after 8 PM at the night, they had 1 doctor.
healthcare is deplorable. The response that they will have in place for here can, like, I don't think it'll be driven by our Department of Health, it'll be driven by occupational health and safety. And so if you're gonna put 2,000 workers there, I think you'll see a huge presence of these mobile medic places, you know, during construction, we'll say the next 5 years or so, right? So they'll do first aid, keeping in mind that every one of these companies, safety is first always, and they will be trying to, they don't want people going to hospital. So if they can get a Band-Aid this big and they can stick it over your arm and get it to stay back on, they will. These companies do that, that's routine. So they'll try to manage it in-house, is what I'm saying, right? That's what that statement says to me, is that, you know, they'll take care of their own, but they will never go on record before or after any kind of incident and say that they're
responsible.
that, you know, that this could happen. They're not going to tell you that the potential is there that 1/3 of the population could have chemical burns in a matter of 5 minutes. I'm not going to tell you that.
I just say there's something else, if you move from one of these monsters down the highway, down to its destination, don't expect to get anywhere in an ambulance if you get sick for any other reason, because that road you ain't going to get on.
Now, I'm going to tell you, based on what's happening here, with the work with marine contractors and what's happening up in New Bay, we're going to have a 4-lane highway from Northern Armbrook access right straight to Cromer Avenue. Right? And there'll be a road from Point Leamington, right from the Pickle probably, right straight to New Bay. Right? So, these guys, no shortage of money. They don't even have an environmental assessment done, and they're pouring millions of dollars into drilling programs, road construction, right? You go up there now, the woods roads are in better shape than they have ever been since Abitibi left.
There's a woods road almost over to Triton now, so that could be another exit for them.
Well,
That was
I don't see them having any goals of going beyond Twin Lake, because they're gonna keep it all in one watershed area, it's all with water.
Well, Southern Lake Access Road goes over to Bay Rock, Robertson and Hollis, yes.
Over Badger Bay.
Yes, but they do have, some measurement towers as well slated for Kippens Ridge area.
There's 6 up there.
Yeah,
There's 6 on Tickle, like there's
but that
19
whole
and
thing before any of this is talked about, there's it,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I'm really curious where the construction schedule is.
Oh, they're way behind.
Because they're planning on putting up these test towers and having data from 24, they're in their environmental assessment that they're just submitted. They've talked about testing that has already started, and I'd like to know
How
where.
many Met towers are up though?
None.
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 There's none.
No, just bird radar and LiDAR.
Did Botwood ever, bring it to council about, building this plant, near the kids, which all the kids around is right up here on top of the hill? And the next to the kids is the hospital. Did anybody, why build a plant so close to town? Is it to save money or?
The process is, we got a piece of land, can we give it to them? Yeah, they're giving away everything they got. They own the Abitibi sites. That's really what they're, what?
The kids are most vulnerable, is in danger.
I've said from day one, I'm not opposed to responsible development. And responsible development, how does this look? It looks about 15 kilometers up in the woods. That's where it looks about, 15 to 20 kilometers. Go to the other side of New Bay, go into New Bay and turn left and keep going. Till nobody complains, and then set up your plan. That's the only way, because it cannot fit on this peninsula.
Wouldn't it be possible to have those pipelines that far, they want as close as they can?
No, there's water everywhere.
No, but.
There's water everywhere.
What, the product?
Oh, the product?
He
Oh,
wants to
don't
be
worry
close
about
to-
the product.
He wants to be close to the.
That don't matter. They,
That's
of course
why
they do. You know what they're proposing? 3-kilometer pipeline and distribution system.
Yeah.
You know where that puts it? Right on the side of the highway. 1.2 million cubic meters of hydrogen stored on the side of the highway with a 36-inch pipe running down through town. Sounds like a good idea to me.
Sounds like.
Yeah, well, they took a hydrogen bomb in one plane and blew up Hiroshima. Think about it.
What was the order? What came first, Hiroshima or Nagasaki?
Don't know.
Hiroshima was first, Nagasaki was second. First one was uranium, second one was hydrogen. Nagasaki, I think, is the people who speak most about hydrogen failure.
Fat man and little boy.
What?
Fat man and little boy.
Yeah, those are 2 bombs. But yes, to think that somehow they can control this process, okay, this reactor, that this is dreams in engineers' heads.
So what are we
This is
doing?
not-
What are we gonna do about it? Again, I'm asking the same question, what are we doing?
I hear you.
We definitely don't have the people.
Oh, there's people, but nobody wants to speak.
But how does the town have
Nobody's-
any right to tell them what to do?
I
See,
mean,
I was
stop
for,
our
I was,
Okay, who's driving the bus? Let's tackle that question. Who's driving this bus?
It should be the people should be.
Town Bottom? No. Province of Newfoundland?
No.
They don't even know how to drive. They shouldn't even have a license. They should get out of the playground and don't let them build a playground. You know, Trudeau, is this federally? No, they're washing their hands, don't even want environmental assessment. No, we have that or was. Right? So everyone who should be protecting the people from federal, provincial, municipal, who have sworn a code of conduct to, first of all, primarily protect the people, secondly, protect the environment, and third, to provide an economy for the people to be prosperous. The economy is third, but obviously that's been outside.
One of my questions is about where are they getting the water? Like, my understanding was they were just taking water from Peters Pond.
Yep.
That was it, there was no other mention of any other lake, the New Bay Lake, Twin Lakes, any other lakes in the entire area. But there's no way, I don't think they can do what they're gonna do just from taking water from Peters Pond. Peters Pond would be dreams in no time.
But isn't New Bay Lake
But
included in
it's-
that now, right?
I don't know.
The watershed
Those other
area.
ponds, all
New
these
Bay
other
Lake.
areas go, Peters Pond is at, okay, look at it as you got different layers, right?
Yeah.
All right, down here's Peters Pond.
It's all this
Up
water.
here is Twin Lakes, over here is Northern Iron Lake, over here is, New Bay Lake. They're all above you. it all trickles down into Peters Pond.
All they gotta do is go
That's
down
why.
through with the excavator and make the ditch as big as they want to.
Rivers.
Yeah, we're not gonna have one.
Well, you're not allowed to cut pine trees, the jury burn can issue a permit at the stroke of a pen. I can prove that, that's already been done. I've got charges up against Everett. Okay, Everett's already broken the law. Lots of them. Right. Goes back to this, the guidelines. Right. One of the submissions that Everett had to make to the provincial government was regarding past human rights violations of any company management. Sounds like a pretty, these guys, what. But they also went on, the provincial government's got some smart people, I can guarantee you, there are some very intelligent people working behind the scenes who are probably afraid to speak up because they get their head shot off and get fired. Right? But there's very intelligent people putting words into these documents.